Welcome to CrackTalk.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Dr. J here, and welcome to CrackTalk. And by the way, this is our first virtual CrackTalk we've ever had. So Scott, good to see you here today, man. We're not in person, but we're still together.
This is weird. I don't know what to do. I'm used to being right here,
Yeah,
feeling that energy. So this is our first virtual one. So we're gonna see how this goes.
Scott, we're close, but yet so far away.
That's
welcome to the COVID Zoom conference call world we did live in that we got out of. But I just want to thank everybody for helping us push out the content and share the message of an unrelated topic and how their life could be changed through chiropractic. Last week, super duper powerful one. We had our first tears. Right? And talking about your personal story with digestive. But I just want to remind everybody, if you like what we're throwing down here, please make sure you push the subscribe button, that you like us, you share, because there are people out there. I just watched the pregnancy one again, talking about pre-pregnancy, not able to get pregnant, the actual when you're pregnant and post-pregnancy, something near to dear. I mean, we're right now, my daughter-in-law is a ticking time bomb. You know this, Scott.
Yep.
And it's interesting. I've watched that one now for about the fourth time, and I'm like, holy smokes, every single person, female and male, that are wanting to get pregnant, currently pregnant, or then have had a baby should watch that. So today we're gonna bring that same vibe. And last week was on digestive issues. And if you guys want to see Scott cry, he does.
Hey, you may see me cry again this week, because another thing that I've struggled with, Jay, is for pretty much my whole entire adult life is what we're going to talk about today, and that's allergies.
Seasonal allergies. And right now, it's that time of the year. We just dipped over. Daylight saving time just happened. That lets us all know we're in spring. And, we get the spring forward with time, but then also at the same time, we get nailed.
And depending where you are, within the country and or the world, but I know here in the United States, especially where we're at in Kentucky, and then we go on down towards Tennessee, Carolinas, and all that, I know that these areas this time of year are brutal for seasonal allergies.
Scott, you remember being down in South Carolina, and the cars would be covered with, you see that Post-it? They would be covered with a 1/4-inch layer of this kind of tree pollen from those pine trees.
Out yesterday walking the dog in my neighborhood, and those big trees up here that have the big white puff blooms on them or whatever were falling. It almost looks like it had snowed.
Dude,
there's
don't
so
walk by
much
those
stuff,
because they will nail you.
Yes.
Whatever's on that tree goes right into your body.
Right into your nose.
If you have seasonal allergies, avoid those trees at all costs. Right.
So one of the things, with that said, Jay, is we laugh when we talk about seasonal allergies, but then that is one thing that I would never connect those two together.
No, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't make sense, Scott. Chiropractors, and we talked about on this call specifically, we got back pain, neck pain, and headaches. And the chiropractic profession has done a poor job of really educating the general public of what we really do. So then the general public has said, hey, man, I went to there with my low back, it hurt. It doesn't hurt anymore. I went there with headaches. Now I don't have headaches anymore. I'll go there with neck pain. I don't have neck pain anymore. So we've kind of gotten compartmentalized into that group. That's why we do this Crack Talk, Scott, is to educate people. How do allergies and how do seasonal allergies specifically have any application to chiropractic or vice versa? How does chiropractic apply to somebody that's like yourself, dealing and plagued with seasonal allergies? The first thing I want to do is just start off. I'm always amazed that when I start doing a little research, because I did study seasonal allergies in school, but let me tell you what, it's a hit or miss, okay? Some things you retain, some things you don't, like always, right? So I start digging back into the internet and finding how many people are plagued with seasonal allergies. How many people are like you, Scott? Mind-blowing number. 81 million people in 2021. They don't have the stats for 2023 yet. 2021. 81 million people were diagnosed with seasonal allergies. And I have this. 26% of that were adults. 19% of that number were children.
Wow.
That literally have an inability, or their body gets triggered by tree pollen and grass pollen, which, then you go into ragweed, which is a type of grass, but really it's tree pollen from whatever pollen tree,
right,
and grass from whatever type of grass are the major triggers. That's what leaves that color coating on top of our cars, even here in Kentucky. Right. Not as bad as I remember in South Carolina. And I even found out, dude, guess what? Guess who's in a year-long season of allergies? Florida.
Yeah, true.
There are states that they don't ever come out of it like we do. At least when we go into super summer and winter, it kind of, calms down. The pollen resides. Yeah. So I was just first blown away, Scott, by there's 81 million people. I assure you the number in 2022 and 23 was bigger than that.
It's gone up.
That are dealing with it like you. So we have a problem here. And what has conventional medicine done at this point for allergies? I always like to talk about that. Well, listen, they don't do surgery, but they actually do. If you're plagued with seasonal allergies or allergies long enough, in children, what do? They remove your adenoids and your tonsils. Major surgery for a child to go through.
Right.
As we're talking about this, I just always like to bring this. For me, that's completely unacceptable to have organs that were made by the divine wisdom in our life put into our bodies to then be removed because we feel like, okay, the body's going to function better. And I'm sure there's some emergency situations, but just think about if you're a child and if maybe you're an adult and you had that happen, the prevalence rate of that is pretty significant. Somebody has what we call, quote unquote, chronic allergies, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then you take that, you play it for us, say, well, before they get to surgery, and maybe they find out they have a deviated septum, boom, they do another surgery, right? They have sinusitis, so maybe they have their sinuses like routed out. I've heard of people do that. Yeah. Super painful. I actually considered that once in my life.
I've never done that. I've heard about that, and I heard the same. I mean, that is the only thing I've heard is that is super painful.
I had one girl, a friend of mine that I was going to church with, and I was dealing with a sinus infection for about the third time due to seasonal allergies, because that's the other thing people don't talk about is you get seasonal allergies, and then seasonal allergies usually will stumble into a full-fledged sinus headache, which it looks like somebody just punched you like a Mack truck in the face and you go bedridden, right? Yeah. So I said, well, what did people do? Those are the surgeries we talked about. But before that, antihistamine is about the only thing. Something that will dry up the mucous membrane, something that will dry up the embarrassing nasal drip that we've all had. I've seen us all, we're all like doing this or got a little napkin in our pocket. Zyrtec, Claritin, Allegra, these are the go-tos. Hey. And the challenge is they're effective.
Right.
When they're effective.
Yes.
Right. So sometimes they do their job, but I will tell you, chronic and long-term use of these things, they sometimes become least effective over time.
Well, this is with me taking this stuff, got to the point to where you take more and more and more. And I mean, I will tell people, and it's astronomical for me to look back and to think that I was taking like 3 Zyrtec in the morning and 3 Zyrtec in the evening, just trying to curb the allergy symptoms, the stuff that were going on. I look back, I'm like, that was 6 allergy pills a day I was every day just throwing them down, and I would have taken more if it would have. And then you finally just get to the point, it's like, all right, something's got to give.
Well, Scott, 81 million people, I guarantee in that bucket, tremendous amount of people listening to that today are like, bam, that was exactly my life. Or bam, I was on Allegra or Claritin or Zyrtec, and I started having to take more and more and more and more. And then we talked about Mucinex, because if you're having seasonal allergies, all of a sudden you get a pop and the mucous membranes get irritated. So you're snotting, you're getting mucus in your gut, so you don't digest food well. It is definitely one of these things that once it gets going, if your body has an inability to adapt to it, can go all the way down to major sinus infection, which can lead to a major situation. I mean, you're sick, right?
Right.
So what do you do? What do you do? And I thought, okay, well, what are some of the things that if somebody's dealing with season allergies, what are natural remedies, or I don't even want to say remedies, but natural things that they could walk into? I know one thing that helps me every year, neti pot. And I know it's weird, but let me tell you what, the first thing, have you ever done that neti pot?
Yes.
It's weird. You put fluid in your nose and it comes out your mouth or your other nose side. And it's a situation.
It's a weird thing, but it feels so good.
But dude, and just so people know, because I don't think they've done a really good job of educating people on neti pot.
This is something else, just to back up a step.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talking about what are things, that we look at as currently doing. And this is stuff that I have seen neti pots now kind of advertised and things like that coming out. It's getting a little more, but I mean, if you watch TV, Jay, and you and I talk about this a lot, just the amount of prescriptions and things that are out there for this stuff, nasal sprays.
What are they doing right now? I was going to say, you watch YouTube TV, which we watch, Apple TV, regular cable TV, Scott Neal. Every single one of the commercials now are Allergies, are Claritin, are Mucinex, because they know people are battling 81 million people. That's a pretty big market to market to.
Oh, I'm sitting here as we speak right now. I'm like, okay, Scott Neal, we need to be going after this 81 million person market that is out there. Because guess what you don't see? Remedy and or relief for allergies via chiropractic.
Well, you'll see, but here's what I'll find though. You'll see those things on the social media pages, like the Facebook, the Instagram, because they can afford to advertise there. Right. But one of the things that we don't talk about a lot of times is big pharma, pharmaceutical companies, big hospital systems. They used to not be allowed to advertise. It used to be taboo. And I'm going to tell you this, once they learned they could grab eyeballs and get their brand and they got approval by whatever the powers that be, whatever is what is the one that regulates TV advertising?
Oh, the FCC?
FCC, yes. So once the FCC said, oh yeah, you can promote your drugs on TV. Scott, you were in advertising. What happened to the rates to buy TV time or TV advertising?
Well, demand went through the roof, and then the rates went skyrocketed.
So the smaller people, like the person that's developing the neti pot, or the chiropractor, or the naturopath, or the homeopath that are sitting out there, and acupuncturists that have great ways of naturally treating these kind of things, they can't even buy time. So people have a hard time, and think about this. We always say this in our business too, Scott. And for you that are listening, I hope you get a little bit of this. Perception's reality. They do a great job at getting you perceived that if you take this, all of a sudden you're running through the park. You're running right past the pine tree. It hits you in the face. Nothing matters because you're taking Allegra and Mucinex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's comical because we all know each and every one of these medications come with what? An entire list of side effects. Yes. And they only are treating the symptom. So I always like neti pot. You're going to see a tremendous amount of those. I've seen a couple on my Facebook feed lately. I'm seeing a lot of vitamin C supplements. The oscillum, I can never pronounce it, but my wife would give it to our kids. It's a homeopathic type of anti-cold, anti-flu type of thing. And homeopathic, for those that don't know what that is, homeopathic is when you actually add the irritant into your body in small doses to get your body to naturally start building a real natural immune. So if you're allergic to ragweed in homeopathic medicine, they start adding microdose of ragweed into your body so that go ahead, Scott.
Is that why, when you said that, is that why I've always heard the old wives' tale of wherever you move to, you go find local honey?
Scott, second on my list. The most homeopathic and the best thing I think anybody can do is you're exactly correct. honey, local honey, not the honey that you're buying at the big
You want the
grocery
local
store.
bees, what the local bees have been. They've been on all the weeds, the flowers, this and this, and they've produced the local honey that they always say, go get local honey and eat it, and you'll
And most people don't know why. They hear that. Not only, first say, it does soothe your throat. Like if you're, one of the symptoms of allergies is you sneeze, you cough, your throat gets raw, and then that can turn into strep, right? I mean, so you could take honey and it soothes your throat, right? But man, people are like, well, everybody always tells me to take a teaspoon of local honey. Why? You just said it, Scott, is because it has all your regional allergens, irritants inside of it in microdose. So it's almost like you don't even have to go to a homeopathic doctor. You just need to have you and your kids. And this is something my wife and I did. Every day they woke up, they got a teaspoon of local honey. Well, and they love it because they think they're getting a spoonful of sugar, like Mary Poppins. We were Mary Poppins in it, right? And I think that's kind of where that came from, a spoonful of sugar, makes the medicine go down kind of thing. Not to quote the movie, but we just did. But it's interesting that people that do that over a period of time, they naturally start seeing that they don't have the flare up. Yeah. Because I want to talk about what happens inside the body. Yeah. With homeopathic medicine, you're introducing an allergen, your body starts naturally building its antigens, its antigens, and its natural antibodies inside. So you don't need medication from the outside in. If you give your body the right opportunity, it will take, okay, we got ragweed in this area, or we got like pine pollen or whatever, you name it. Your body has the ability to build little molecules, little proteins in your body called antigens and antibodies that when that's introduced, it will attack it and destroy it. That's why I'm glad you brought that up. That's why honey is so important, or some type of homeopathic type of medicine. So the neti pot doesn't do that. It just cleans your sinuses. You get ragweed, or if you puff something up, or you run by that, walking the dog, Scott, that pine cone hits you in the face, quickly do a neti pot.
Well, and it's one of those things you don't think about it, but that's why you have the hairs in the nose and the things like that is to catch that stuff so it doesn't go in. So the neti pot is going in, actually you're cleaning that palate basically in that area, cleaning it out because it's catching all that stuff before it actually gets into your system. It's trying to.
Well, think about this, guy, and nose hairs are not sexy.
No.
So everybody I know nowadays is clipping all their freaking nose hairs, this guy included, okay? So everything is going up. So my primary defense, nose hairs are not getting
It's a clear shot all the way up in.
Yes. If I ran into that pine cone, I already know 2 weeks later I'd be in the bed with a full-fledged sinus infection, And then my wife would say, being a baby, that I need to be cradled because, you and I are both men. We don't do good when we're sick. I don't know about other men, but I turn into a ball of mush when I have a fever and not well.
Well, I tell you, it is one of those things with allergies. I would almost rather be sick, like in the bed sick. And because allergies are something that when they hit and that flare up comes on, or you have that, major attack, I mean, it is the worst feeling. And it is one of those things that you feel heavy, you're snotting, you're sneezing, you're drained. And it just is, I always just say you feel heavy and miserable. So I almost, and then, I'm a big baby anyway. So then kind of throw that on me. And it's just like, it's just a bad day for everybody.
Well, think about this too. It also, when people are dealing with seasonal allergies, they're still going to work. So they have to produce.
Yes.
Because they're not like, quote unquote.
You're not sick enough to be in bed. So you kind of got to go to work, but you don't feel like going to work.
But you're sick enough to be miserable.
Oh,
right.
Day.
So it's a problem. So neti pot, local honey. I had vitamin C, hydration and nutrition is another one. Making sure you're super hydrated, because if you get dehydrated, what happens is your mucous membranes start building up more and more mucus, which allows it to grab more and more allergens out of the air, and they stick, and you kind of go into this caustic cycle. All right. Oh, wow. And the last one that we became privy to just in the heating and air business, and it doesn't have to be heating and air, but I know every one of my properties and my personal residence has a air scrubber. And it's exactly what we talk about. We actually installed these. Every one of our offices has an air scrubber too, Scott. We installed them during COVID because they were able to kill through UV light and whatever kind of technology is in that. You actually insert it into the plenum of your HVAC system, right? And it kills 99.99% of all allergens, pollen, pollutants, viruses, and bacterial particles. Right? So it kills them before they can even get into your house. So if you see yourself with chronic seasonal allergy, I would challenge everybody, call a local heating and air company and ask them what UV light options. If it costs too much, because I remember $1,000, $1,500 per office, you can buy the small ones. I've even seen them for your car. People have like these little air scrubbers in their car. They're called something else. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
The Iona freezes or
yes, I know what you're talking about.
You can also get them to where they just go in your room. But I'll tell you, they work. They suck the air out of the room through this thing, through a real heavy MERV filter, right? And it gets that stuff out of there, and it actually kills through ionization all the ions, all the bacterial, the viral, the pollen, all the stuff that's getting up into your nose, mouth, your kid's nose and mouth, and is causing the green mustache or the nasal drip and the irritation of coughing and sneezing. So these are just I just want to give people, because we want to first educate, second inspire, and then action steps. So our action step is neti pot, honey, vitamins. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're eating well. And then here's the other thing: make sure you get a UV light. And then Scott, I'm going to nail the last nail in the deal here. Make sure you're getting adjusted, because here's the one biggest thing that happens in the chiropractic office, and they've done studies on this. People that are getting adjusted in a chiropractic office have a lower incidence rate of allergic reactions, or what I would say seasonal allergy reactions. Well, why is that? Those two don't go together. It's because when you get your neck adjusted, there's about 4 million nerve roots on each side. It's either 4 or 40. I'm ripping quick here. 4 or 40 million nerve roots, and they're going to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is innervating your entire immune system. So if you have one of those bones out of alignment in your upper neck, and it's putting pressure on that nerve, and it's back to the telephone wire, it's not causing pain.
Right.
It's just affecting the way your brain is integrating and communicating with your immune system. Now these allergens are coming in, and your body has an inability to properly respond. So even if you're eating the honey, you're hydrated, right? But your body can't detect the allergen. You're going to have a problem, because it's just going to keep building up until you're at a place where your body can't overcome the amount of allergen or irritant that's in your body. This is when people get really sick. Okay. Wow. So my thing would be like, hey, the last tagline is make sure you're going to a local chiropractor, getting your spine checked, making sure the curve in your neck is proper, making sure that all the segments in your spine are aligned. Subluxation is what we treat. We talk about in our office, a bone that moves out of place between 1 to 5 millimeters, left, right, up, down, puts pressure and an inflammatory process around the nerve root, and just interfere, Scott, with the way your brain communicates to and from your body back. So if that's a problem and it's compromised up here, you realize you're not going to be able to adapt to in a seasonal allergy situation.
So if I'm understanding this right, so basically your body has a natural immune system built in to fight this allergy.
What happens is, Scott, something enters your body, bacteria, virus, irritant, whether it's pollen or whatever, your body first has to detect it. The reason cancer, check this out, the reason cancer can exist in your body without nobody knowing. All of a sudden, they're like stage 3, stage 4, they're on their deathbed. And they're like, I've had no reason. It's because you have mutated cells that are normal inside your body. So your body can't detect that you have cancer because it looks like a normal cell. That same thing with allergies. If you're getting things in your body and your body first sign of defense is, well, we got to detect it. Then it then says, okay, you go here, you go here. Right. We need blood cells here, blood cells here. We need antibodies, antigens. We read it. Oh, it's ragweed. We're going to send the antigen for ragweed or the antibody for ragweed or the antibody for a virus or your body. This is how brilliant we are. Without, I mean, did you think about finding your last sinus infection?
No. And it always amazes me when we go into these conversations because I have now created that I look at it as there's an orchestra going on at all times within our body. Yes. And the brain is the conductor. So everything that we talk about each week, it's like, I've never thought about what the body has to do in order to react to an allergen or an irritant or a virus or something like that. So then all of a sudden it becomes crystal clear that, if I've got a subluxation or interference in one of the vertebrae of my neck that could be, compromising that communication to that part of the body that's supposed to be there to fight this irritant or whatever, all of a sudden my immune system is lowered.
Yeah. And Scott, what happens is, when your immune system is down like that, you can't detect it. And then you get a full blown, you're back, you're now having to take antibiotic, you're taking Allegra, Claritin, whatever it is, Mucinex, because your body now is not capable or not able. So you can't, that's why homeopathic is such a big deal. You want to get yourself ready.
Yes. Well, this goes back to what we always say, you're getting prepared for the season because once you go to that point, then your symptom, your reaction, you're being reactive. I'm just trying to fight symptoms and stop my nose from running.
It's funny. I remember when we had kids and it's not true, but they would say, drag your kid's head through the sand. and then it was like, why? Get as much crap in their mouth as you can so they can build their natural immunity. And my wife and I, we lived by that premise. I remember when my father-in-law or my mother's husband had shingles, which is basically the chickenpox virus as a man, as an adult. We brought the kids in, bam, a week later, they all break out in chickenpox. We kind of lived in old school. We wanted to expose them to as much stuff that we had control of, as possible. Now, we watched them too. We didn't do this irresponsibly, but we would watch them and we wanted to get their bodies built as strong as possible. Too many of us, our first response is going to the doc, going to the over-the-counter pharmacy, and you're taking 6 of these pills and you're not even allowing your body, because once you start doing that, now you've completely removed, your body doesn't even know you have a problem. No. It's not fighting the problem. No. Your medication is fighting the problem and trying to get rid of it, and your body's just trying to heal up after that. So I always like to say, look, I went a little too far on this a couple of times. I've had sinus infections, and I'm not going to say it heals every time, but I start getting adjusted. 8 out of 10 times, my body heals it. And I'm doing the neti pot, and I'm doing, the Vicks Vapor. I'm doing some natural stuff. But for the 2 out of 10 times, I do possibly need to go get antibiotic because my body's just could not get it done. Right. So I always like to tell people, you got to give your body a chance first. Right. Go ahead.
Right. Well, I'd say that just goes back to what you're saying. You're kind of getting your body prepared. So everything that we've talked about, with the local honey and the vitamin C and getting your body prepared, and then just, with chiropractic, again, you're going back to just making sure that immune system is at its highest level. So therefore, when you go into a season like this where, I know people suffer with allergies all year long, but you come into these seasons where we're at right now, it's over an abundance of pollen in the air. So my body is ready for it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are times, like you said, that you're going to have that flare up or that effect, and you may have to go and do something about it. But for the most part, I'm going to make sure I am as prepared for allergy season as I can be. It's almost like, I always take it back to a sports analogy. If I'm going to go play a football game, I got to be prepared. I got to study. I got to practice. I got to be ready to go. So it's almost like you look at allergy season. It's like allergy season started. Am I prepped? Do I got my vitamin C, my neti pot? Am I getting adjusted? Do I have all my stuff together as we go into allergy season?
And Scott, here's the alternative. Wear a gas mask. It's just like that was the joke I used to tell people. Your other opportunity to walk around with one of those respirators. Nothing will get in your body.
Yeah, I actually think I've used that in an ad before, or used the respirator. It's like, we can either do this or this. Here's one way to handle allergy season. Here's another way.
Yeah, remember the little thing we did with the air up here versus the air down here. I don't even want to get into that, but that was some good stuff. Great content. Maybe we'll post that one day in the way off future. But let me ask you, Scott, because as we're talking about this, I know you struggle with this. I don't necessarily struggle with seasonal allergies. I don't know what gift I was given, but I do get hit with the bug sometimes, where the allergies, if it gets too much and I'm not taking care of myself, or I'm in a state of stress too much, that's usually my body will start kind of breaking down, right? And if I'm not eating right, or I'm not hydrating, or I'm not taking my vitamins and my green stuff, I notice sometimes I'm not giving my body its full opportunity to fight. And I'll tell you, the biggest one is I go a week without getting adjusted. I can tell, and then bam, I'll get a sinus infection. But I've seen you a million times come to the boardroom a wreck. I saw you the day prior, you were a rock show.
Yep.
I see you the following day, and it's like, what happened?
Well, I tell you, over the last, and we kind of went over this in last week, or the last podcast, talking about digestion. It's all with me kind of work together, having some food allergies and things like that. And then what I have done is, by bringing being, I guess, diligent in my chiropractic and not letting it fall off, and making it a part of my lifestyle now, where it's just consistent care over time, consistency over time, is healing up one thing is lending itself to another. So just for your knowledge, so ever since I got serious about all this and really taking care of myself and really making chiropractic the cornerstone of my health journey, have not taken a Zyrtec in over 6 months.
Dude.
Was taking 6 a day. In over 6 months, I have not taken a one. I've had one allergy attack in the last probably 4 months, and it was actually this past weekend. Just because, it was the day I walked outside. I'm walking the dog, and it's like snowing, this white flowery stuff in the air. And, I got it by that afternoon, it was gone.
Well, I will also say, Scott, we had a very stressful day the prior day.
Yes. So there was a little bit of that week leading up to that. Yeah, there was a little bit of rundown, a little bit, because that always goes into it, the sleep, the food, the dehydration, blah, blah. So throw a couple other factors in there. Saturday got me, but I was back Sunday and not had a problem. Haven't taken no medication.
So for you that are listening to this, that's incredible, because I've seen him Mucinex. What was your? Was it Alleviates or?
I had a cocktail Zyrtec. So I would buy generic Zyrtec. And I had the cocktail to where you could actually do the Mucinex with about 6 Zyrtec and stuff. Every now and then I could get it to dry up, but it was just constant, and it would be. It would just, you couldn't control it. It'd be like whenever it hit, and it was all year round.
And I can just imagine, though, because you're already dealing with digestive stuff. We talked about that last week, and that's been playing. You're putting on medication in your stomach. For most people don't understand, Scott, that when you put a medication in, it just doesn't dissolve in your mouth. It has to be chewed up or swallowed. It goes then into your stomach. It's possibly got a coating on it to where it'll get out of your stomach, into your small intestines, to then be dissolved. Right. Yep. And then broken down, your body then has to absorb it and then use it. And I don't think a lot of people understand. So even if your neck's clear and you have a subluxation in your mid back and you're taking these medications, they could be ineffective.
Yeah. Well, this was kind of my situation, being a digestive issue and then having these allergy issues. They kind of went together, and it was almost like this vicious cycle of taking all these pills that kept inflammation in the digestive system. And then, so it took me, like I said, it all started to change when I got serious about chiropractic being the cornerstone of my health journey.
And Scott, for everybody that's listening for maybe the first time, what does that mean? What did you start doing? Because you've always been hit or miss, because you've been in the business for 20 years. Yes.
Well, and that's one of those things that's almost a double-edged sword. You're in the business so much so you take it for granted.
Yes.
So I actually stepped back and went at it as a brand new patient. Wow. And went through the process and actually had one of the chiropractors go through and redo all x-rays on my back. And I sat down, shut my mouth, and said, I am a new patient. Treat me as if. And we found subluxations all throughout my spine that were directly related to, the issues. I had some sinus issues, digestive issues, and then, like I said, I made that decision right then and there that I'm going to dive into what is going into my body food-wise, and I'm going to make chiropractic the cornerstone of my health journey. That's it. Because I've been going to doctors and this and nothing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start here first. Yeah. This is going to be the cornerstone, and everything is going to go out from there.
So you went from, just so everybody, what this means is he went from being adjusted occasionally, different doctors, hit or miss here or there, and then he got on a rigid care plan where he's getting adjusted 2 to 3 times a week on a rhythm and getting his body ready. And I remember this is a big deal because we were in a couple executive meetings, and you're like, hey, I'm going to have to dip out. And I'm going to have to go get adjusted right now because this is when I get adjusted because you were getting such good results.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I was, and I was a culprit of what we started this conversation. This whole podcast started out with talking about why we do this podcast is I was treating chiropractic for painful issues. If I had neck pain or I hurt my back, or I started to use it for these things and kind of lost track of all the power that chiropractic has and all these things that you don't relate to chiropractic being able to help. I got out, I kind of geared away from that. And I've kind of come back
to it, as they say.
You don't see it. You take it for granted. I was not seeing it. Was it the old saying, I couldn't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
So now I've stepped back and I've re-engaged myself into it, and it's almost having that reawakening into your own profession to where it's like, I forgot how powerful this stuff is.
And think about this, Scott. Think about this. People listen to this first time. They think chiropractic the same way. You were so close to it, couldn't see the forest for the trees, right? You're, hey, shoulder pain, back pain, neck pain. Oh, you get adjusted. Dude, and then all of a sudden you start getting, and I'll tell you, everybody that's listening, that's how this podcast manifested. Scott says, we have got to get this information out to people, even if it just helps a few that are just like me, because digestive and allergy just sent overall body sensitivities have dominated and been ruining my life. And if you've not watched, when we get digestive problems out, you guys are going to be blown away. I mean, listen, you can feel it. It's been ruining his life. Allergies on top of it. So, Scott, good job. And I'm glad that chiropractic is having that kind of impact because, we always say the power that makes the body heals the body, and the body heals in rhythm. It's just like going to the gym, 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week. At the same time, you start getting into that rhythm over time. And I always think that patients always want this quick fix because they've been told, hey, you watch the commercial, guy pops in Allergies, he's snotting out of his face, and then all of a sudden he's doing a marathon an hour later.
Yeah. All of a
false
sudden,
premise. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's in shape and running and feels great. Blah blah blah. But
will Alleviates help you lose weight? Because I might look at it.
Actually, that's a whole other conversation, whole other podcast.
But it's just so cool to hear that story, Scott. And I know, but past 2 weeks we've talked about some personal topics that are true, dear to your heart and close. And I think people listening to this can relate. 81 million people in the United States in 2021 are you. And they're all being given medication. Medication doesn't work. It leads to them some kind of surgery, tonsils, adenoids, deviated septum, routing out of the sinuses, whatever it is. Yeah. And then next to allergy season comes, bam, they're popped with the same stuff. Yeah. So the only thing I would add here is, we got neti pot, local honey. We talked about that. Vitamin C, hydration, getting your blood flowing too, which is another thing, staying active, adding the UV light or some kind of, thing that'll scrub the air in your house, potentially at work. Ask your business owner if they'll put them in. Every one of our clinics, we did it during COVID. We wanted to make sure there was zero COVID-19 on any surface or even in the air. And it worked. And then the sixth thing was get your spine checked. Because if you're dealing with seasonal allergies, like Scott, You may not know the opportunity in your life to not be dealing with that by giving your body the right opportunity to heal and be well, which is what you've discovered.
Yeah. Why would this kind of comes back to why wouldn't you make that the cornerstone? It's like, before I go down this road, if I'm suffering with this and I have for years. So, I mean, let's look at that. I've had seasonal allergies and I have them for years. It's like, let's do something different this time.
Yeah. Because you were just taking more medication. I think people on this call can relate to that. Like, yeah, all I do is take more of the same and get less result.
Hey, guess what? Let's do something different this year and let's go get our spine checked. What is it going to hurt? You look at it and say, oh, well, there you have a subluxation right here. You can have something that could easily be put, easily corrected over time. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got relief.
Which is back to our vision and mission, Scott.
Yes.
Even in our world, it's every person deserves to live a pain-free life.
Yes.
Allergies are painful. Stomach digestive problems are painful. And don't say thanks. I hope everybody today on today's podcast, you got educated up. Where do allergies come from? Seasonal allergies. You got inspired that you don't have to live the way you've been living with allergies. Be like Scott. The third one is action steps. We just went over them all. That last one, and most important, your nervous system runs every system, tissue, cell, and organ in your body. If it's intact, you have the greatest opportunity to heal and be well. If it's compromised, you're compromised. So whether you're taking medication or not, Jay. So it's one of those things. If I'm going to take medication, I want to get maximum benefit out of that. Correct. So it's like, if my spine's out of alignment, you're not even going to get the maximum benefit about what you're shoving in your mouth. It's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Yes. So everybody, if you love today's Crack Talk, thanks for joining us. Scott, thanks for sharing a very personal story. Please like this podcast, subscribe on all the platforms, and share this message today. Just like everyone, while we're doing this, it's for you. We're doing this for you. We live in this world. We eat, sleep, and breathe chiropractic care. We see miracles day in and day out inside the four walls of our clinics. And we need to do a better job as a profession. I have to do a better job. Scott told me, hey, Jay, you got to do a better job. People need to know about what we're doing here because it's affecting my life and it's changed my life. So thanks to Scott, we welcome Crack Talk to the world. And so make sure, like, subscribe, and to share the heck out of this thing so people's lives can be changed just like yours, Scott. All right, everybody have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Jay, I'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
See y'all.